Indiana Governor Mike Pence is set to address the controversy surrounding his new Religious Freedom Act in a news conference that is about 15 minutes away now. You can see them setting up the podium there in Indianapolis. He is strongly defending this law, claiming that liberal critics are, quote, grossly misconstruing it. Among those critics is Reverend Al Sharpton. Here's what he said.
This is a key moment for the country. Too often in our history, we've seen religion used to justify attacks on other people's rights, from slavery to Jim Crow to women's right to vote. That same fight is with us today, and we can't let it stand.
Really? Is that what this is about? Joined by Leslie Marshall, syndicated radio talk show host, and David Webb, radio talk show host on Sirius XM Patriot. Both are Fox News contributors. Good morning to both of you. Good to have you here. David, what did you think about what Al Sharpton said there, David?
Well, I take nothing Al Sharpton says pretty much as worth listening to. First of all, religion wasn't an exclusive use for slavery. So he's going to throw the bigotry in it because an instant cry of bigotry is a way to shut down debate. You know, I'd rather look at the law for what it is, Martha. And in Section 9, there's a couple sentences that are key to this. It says, a person whose exercise of religion has been substantially burdened or is likely to be substantially burdened by a violation of this chapter may assert the violation or impending violation as a claim of defense in a judicial or administrative proceeding. That is the meat of this law. And, you know, if they'd taken the word religious off of it, they'd probably find a way to put it in there. Maybe they should have just kept it off and called it the Freedom of Expression Act. And it mirrors, by the way, the 1993 law that Clinton signed into federal law. It's
a little bit different because of that element of people versus people and people versus private entities and small businesses.
Overreach.
So, you know, that's the element that's different here, and that's the element that we may see some clarification on. There's a couple areas that he may clarify when he comes to the podium here, and we're waiting to find that out. Leslie, what did you think? I mean, do you think Al Sharpton is? I mean, I don't know if it's even worth you know, weighing in on this even more. But do you have any comment on what Al Sharpton said? Do you care to?
Well, I understand what he's saying, and I agree with David somewhat. Look, the bottom line here is we have a First Amendment on a federal level, and we know that federal trumps state. Secondly, the problem is what some people are taking this to mean. In South Carolina, we have a man that owns a restaurant that is turning away African Americans, he said, citing his religious freedom. We have a man in Indiana that has said that he will turn away lesbians, gays, transgenders, those from the LGBT community, citing religious freedom. This is the problem. This is the slippery slope in the Pandora's box. And I think also knowing my listeners in Indiana who are much more concerned with the high crime rate, low jobs and bad economy, and more jobs perhaps leaving as a result of this law, that this should not be the priority of the governor
as David
or
pointed
of the
out,
state.
What the law says is that you have the right to go to court to adjudicate that disparity in the two different businesses that you just talked about. Absolutely, I agree. One of the things that I think is interesting here is that there was maybe a misstep that the governor is about to correct, because he unfortunately opened himself up to this Pandora's box with this law and allowed people to read into it a lot of things which he claimed they should not be reading into it. So politically, he's put himself in a very tough position, because now he's got the NCAA and other companies, Angie's List, saying that they're considering not doing business with Indianapolis or Indiana because of it, David.
Yeah, and that is a misstep on the governor's part. What happens typically is these laws are passed, in this case, this particular one, and both sides jump in and they state what their belief is rather than doing what I've done. It's 3 pages, not a lot of words, very straightforward to read the law. He does need to clarify the statements that he made. He does need to clarify the intent of the law, which is basically to say that if government overreaches, you have a right to a defense. And yes, the First Amendment exists, but state laws also should be there. By the way, the law also does not exclude the government's rights where you violate any of someone else's rights. It simply gives you a chance to defend yourself.
Leslie, you want to make a quick comment? We got to go, but I see you shaking your head, so I want to let you do that.
David, you don't need a law in any state to sue anybody. I mean, I can sue you because of the color of your tie, and you can sue me because you don't like the color of my dress. That's a reality. With the First Amendment is very strong. It stands alone for religious freedom throughout all of our 50 states in this great United States of America. This is going to hurt the state of Indiana with business, and that's a shame. The people need jobs, and they need a better economy.
Thanks to you both. We'll see what happens here at 11 o'clock.
Thank you, Martha.
Just moments away now as they get ready for that. Thanks, David. Thanks, Leslie.
Meet a hard